Good afternoon to you. Mark Stott of HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. Thursday, June 25th, 2020. This will be fairly short today. A lot of reasons behind that. First of all, we don't have that much to talk about, so no reason to drag it out. And secondly, I've got a lot to do as I get ready for the return of Hurricane U. Remember that? We were doing that recently, starting in April. The educational series where we talk to different experts over video in this COVID world. We have to try to do that as much as possible. Stay separate, I guess. We're going to be talking with Josh Blaylock today, a animal behavioral specialist for marine animals. He used to do that at a popular aquarium, we'll just say that. And he now designs exhibits, marine creature exhibits, marine animal exhibits. And he's going to be my guest today. He said, well, what in the world does this have to do with hurricanes? Well, you'll have to tune in and see. We're going to talk about sharks and hurricanes and some research that's ongoing in that realm, as well as El Nino and La Nina and sea lions. So tune in 4 o'clock Eastern as Josh and I discuss animals, marine animals and hurricanes. All right, in the meantime, let's take a look at what's going on out across the tropics. I just need to slow down a little bit. Mostly dominated by Saharan air all the way over from Africa, several thousand miles into the Gulf of Mexico, even now extending up here to the northern Gulf Coast states. I've seen some tweets about that. No surprise. No, it's not deadly necessarily. I mean, if you've got pretty bad breathing problems as it is, then yes, suspended particulate matter in the atmosphere can complicate that. And you need to avoid being outside, and if you are outside, you wear a mask for that, something that folks in some parts of Asia have to deal with on a regular basis with air pollution problems in some of the more densely populated areas in Asia. We've seen that. So unrelated to the whole COVID-19 thing, mask wearing to avoid dust problems, yeah, sure, for some people that might have to be what happens here. But other than that, any headlines that you've seen about this being deadly are greatly exaggerated, in my opinion. It's very normal. We see these plumes come out and travel across the Atlantic. It's just this one is exceptional, and sometimes that happens. Records are meant to be broken, and this was a record setter. And it's also, like I said, a symptom of a very strong easterly jet coming out of Africa. And I mean, look, already some very intense areas of convection, trying to get going here, a weak tropical wave moving through the islands. It's only a matter of time, and the Atlantic hurricane season will become very, very busy, especially later August through September and into October. Down here in the eastern Pacific, you can see the eastern edge of the activity there associated with the convectively coupled Kelvin wave. And we'll look at that from a different perspective from the National Hurricane Center site. No problem here, no problem here. This won't be a problem either, even if it develops. Then we have another area that's probably going to try to develop. And the good news and the takeaway, no direct impact seen as of yet for Mexico. Either areas like Manzanillo, the Acapulco areas de Guantanamo, up to Cabo San Lucas. The Gulf of California looks to be safe for now. Fairly strong ridging over the west here, and the northeast Pacific, western United States, southwest United States should keep these systems generally moving like this or like this. There's not that impetus yet with trophiness over here to kind of pull these out and up into Mexico. We're not seeing that yet. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but so far it's not happening. All right, so looking at the vorticity at 850 millibars anyway. See right there, cyclonic vorticity. And we are 850 millibars into the atmosphere. That's about 5,000 feet up. This is the eastern Pacific. And we're looking at this area here. These are the areas that I talk about where the energy tries to bundle up. And this whole region is under the influence of that convectively coupled Kelvin wave. More moisture, less shear, more vorticity. Duh. I mean, there it is. You can see these areas trying to tighten up and become their own beings, so to speak. They're not really beings, but they're trying to separate from the main energy that's sitting out here, all this latent heat in the Pacific, The energy, we call that vorticity, spread out, laterally. Well, these are trying to focus it and bundle it in this heat engine that we call tropical cyclones, and that's what we're looking for. So let's take this out to the next 5 days. There's 48 hours out, and you can see, when you get these darker areas here, that's where it focuses the energy, and more than likely you have a tropical cyclone out of that. And you can also see how it moves off, generally speaking, to the northwest, well off the coast of Mexico. So that's good news there. The only thing that would be really beneficial if we could get one of these to kind of come more north would be to get some moisture into northwest Mexico and the desert southwest. Part of the monsoon circulation, sort of, tropical cyclone interactions in the desert southwest are very fascinating to me. Probably something that we will look at in August and September, but you never know. Sometimes in July you get these systems that come through. Now this is an area, as we expand the map here, that's the full Atlantic basin that we're looking at there, at least the North Atlantic basin. And I haven't had to go this wide all season long. I mean, here we are. That's the west coast of Africa right there. We have the Lesser Antilles over here. There's Barbados, right? There's Bermuda. Here's the east coast of the U.S. just to get your bearings on what is what and where is where. Does that make sense? So this, too, the 5,000 foot level of the atmosphere, and we are looking for the signs of the vorticity bundling. Now, a couple of things to point out first. This is a large, massive area of high pressure sprawling all across the Atlantic basin there, squashing the intertropical convergence zone fairly far to the south. The intertropical convergence zone is where the trades from the southern hemisphere meet the trades from the northern hemisphere. They can converge or collide there, and you get upward motion sometimes. Convergence, or the focusing mechanism for thunderstorms. And, as I showed you on the satellite shot here, there's a little bit going on out there, but it's generally kind of squashed and suppressed for the time being. So let's put this into motion too, one frame at a time here. And this, we're going to go out to about a week or so, because I want to show you some interesting things. All right, so here's 24 hours out, and everything, of course, is as calm as it could be. The trades through here, these wind barbs, 5, 10, some of these wind barbs down here, there's a few in there that are 30 knots, 10, 20, 30 knots on the southwest periphery of this high. So the trades are screaming across pretty good, and that's going to cool sea surface temperatures down here just a little bit, some evaporative cooling, but the seeds have already been planted for a very busy season, and those sea surface temperatures likely will rebound if any energy is taken out by these brisk trades associated with this very strong high pressure area, the Bermuda Azores High, we call it. All right, so here's 48 hours out, and you can notice a little bit of this bump here in the height lines. Tropical wave moving across. There's probably another one sitting right in there, and sometimes they'll be really easy to spot. Sometimes they're not. It depends on what level of the atmosphere you look at. But curiously, right there at about 72 hours, you see it? I see it. The GFS indicating a very small, tiny little system there trying to focus and bundle just south of all of this hostile dry air. That's the end of June. If this were to come to fruition, and then it dies away there, it's very short-lived, but you can see the energy there, some of that vorticity showing up in the modeling. If that were to happen, and we were to get even a brief tropical depression or even a named storm, and I know that's stretching a little bit, at the end of June, that would be pretty remarkable. So we'll see. So this goes out to 6 days, and then finally by day 7, right there, very large high pressure area still sitting out here, tropical wave energy out here. Nothing else though, it's the end of June into July. You're not going to see that much development. But there are signs, and if we just go back to that 72-hour mark or so, there we go, right there, you see the origins of it. And just, again, focus right here. You see the origins of that system over the next, 3 days from today. Very short window of opportunity that maybe, just maybe, something at least gets outlooked by the National Hurricane Center. We'll have to see. But this is a sign that things are heading towards, as Ben Knoll tweeting about. I love referencing other people on Twitter. There's some folks that they know it all. And so they tell you everything that they know, and I know they read these other, whatever. I'm just talking. I like to share other people's expertise and show you where I get it from. I mean, why not? We're all in this together. It gives us all an opportunity to learn. That's how I do things. So in this case, I'm referencing Ben Knoll. You'll hear me often cite Jack Sillen or Eric Webb and others, Michael Lowry. It just depends. There's a good group of people, some up-and-coming, amazing talent, and some of them are already here, not up-and-coming. They've already arrived. Ben is certainly one of them. He's down in New Zealand, a forecaster there. Great map maker extraordinaire. And he's talking about, some early Cape Verde action. That's the punchline, if you will, of this tweet, that this active phase here moving across out of the eastern Pacific and then basically standing over Africa. That's what he's talking about. The tropical Atlantic will be interesting to watch in early to mid-July as a convective pulse moves across and then stands over Africa. Very, very big clue there. Why? Because if that area stands over Africa and just kind of sits there, the upward motion convectively energizing these tropical waves, then that would be the start to a potential early Cape Verde hurricane season, with some of those systems coming off Africa very robust, taking advantage of a warmer than average Atlantic. So you see everything starting to come together, and it's not without precedent that we could see something, and we have seen something to develop in the month of July in the deep tropics. It's happened before. June is much more rare. In fact, what I'll do tomorrow, let's go over some climatology and kind of look at what has happened in the past out that way and get our bearings as we get ready to end June and get into July. I'll leave you with that as we head into the weekend. All right? So again, I'll be on YouTube Live today, 4 p.m. Eastern. My guest will be Josh Blaylock. We're going to talk about sharks and sea lions and how that all relates to hurricanes, marine science, animal marine science, you name it. El Nino, La Nina. Fascinating stories that Josh will tell you, and you're going to learn a lot. So tune into that, 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, too, I'm also on Twitter at HurricaneTrack, YouTube HurricaneTrack. That's the brand. Everything's HurricaneTrack, and we are supported by our super awesome patrons via Patreon. To learn more about that, visit the link in this and pretty much every video as of late. The link is in the description. Thanks for tuning in as always. I'll see you back at 4 p.m. Eastern on Hurricane U. I am Mark Sutta. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you later this afternoon.